Spiel die klezmer Så hopp der venter, počkeš i mein, Dützen zerrissen Nachtgebüssen, sind gebrennt nach ungebraten, nicht kennend und nicht Så hakker en seg hakker rast. Noe kjøtt har virket på kjøtt. Hatt prinsesjappen vår, ikke bløden har. Nicht kein Schafon, nicht kein Brinse, und kein Kammerfadenlinse. Seid nur a Gregorfswinter, liebe Kinder. Doina spielt der Gelier. Nicht kein Schaf und nicht kein Rinde, nur hingerig Mano. Und Kinder,
So first of all, I want to thank Rasa and my good friend Laura Lempert, who's not here. She's in Jerusalem right now, and to inviting me back. So I guess I didn't wear out my welcome the first time. So and all the people that I am leading the tour, but also all the new faces that I'm seeing here. So thank you for inviting myself, Yale, and my wife Elizabeth. So the talk with musical examples and a little bit last night at dinner. So my research, I've done a lot of research in Eastern Europe, ethnographic research, focusing on Jewish music particularly. And some people say, why did you pick that art form? You know, probably, you know, artists will, all artists might, other artists might disagree, you know, whatever form your art, whether it's computer art, painting, poetry, architecture, whatever it is that you create. Some anthropologists and ethnographers feel that the art form that is closest to us as humans is not actually speech, but it is music. Even for those who sadly may be born mute, who don't have a stima, as we say in Yiddish, who don't have a voice. Because everybody has rhythm. And you say, really, I have 3 feet, I can't really dance that well. At least my wife says I dance with my elbows. Yeah, yes, she does, yes, yeah. Because why? Everyone, put 2 fingers right now to your neck. I hope it's not beating in 7/8 or 9/8. You better go see the doctor. Meaning, if it's, then you have arrhythmia. What are you feeling? You're feeling a heart, right? I hope so. And what do you feel here when you breathe? So we're naturally rhythmic animals. So music is just part of who we are since we came out of the muck and became man, woman, many millions of years ago. So it's something just part of us. And we know how music, even for those who say they can't carry a tune. No, Dick, I don't believe that. But I'll ask your wife and your daughter. No. That's right, yeah, that's right. My father used to say, I say, Dad, what do you play? He says, the radio very well, high and low. Anyhow, but so music is intrinsic, so I was always drawn to that. And so for the Jewish musician or musicians, worship, the synagogue gave them the impetus to create. So we know in the East European tradition, and here we are in Eastern Europe, in Lita, right? We're in Lithuania, Poland. I have family. I have my Boba, my grandmother on my mother's side, came from Jonava, you know, the town between Kovna and here in Vilnius. So I'm happy to return to her roots, to partly the Yichus. But where does the music come from? It comes from the singing from worship. Whether they had a great synagogue or they were worshiping in the forest or they're just to themselves and they're closing their eyes and they're moving rhythmically. We call it davening. Why do we do that? You know, whenever I would see someone rigidly standing and praying, I'd say, wow, the dude can't feel it. What is wrong with that person? You know, it helps us. And you actually, you know, one of the great daveners was who? Those in America would know was Ray Charles. And I say that sincerely because he felt it from the bottom of his toes. Ray Charles, for those who don't know, a great African-American blues and soul singer, great musician. And he was blind, so this is how he saw. So anyhow, they grew up hearing music and worship, and so they took the instruments, and over time the instruments changed. People say the Jewish instrument is the violin, and I'm grateful to be playing the violin. But the violin is not that old an instrument compared to Jewish music. It's only from really the late 16th century. That's old, but it ain't that old. You know, when we're talking about thousands of years. I mean, when I was doing research, there was an instrument called the Judenlyre, Judenlier, which is really a form of what we call the Jews' harp, the jaw harp. And I am often asked to play at a wedding, Jewish wedding. I'm sure if I showed up with the jaw harp, they would fire me. They say, that's how you're going to play the Jews' harp or the jaw harp? You know what I'm talking about, folks?
Challenge accepted.
Right. Challenge accepted, exactly. But eventually the violin. But what they said is, but so I take the violin, but who is my teacher? And my teacher is the voice. So I listened to the voice and I tried to mimic the voice. And that's what the musicians tried to do, tried to mimic the voice. They added, but they tried to mimic. And so that was some of my first teachers. So as I went to Eastern Europe, I would go to the synagogues and so forth and heard, and I'd say, wow, I'm listening to the people, the Baal Kriya, the one who would lead the reading. And there was really no chazonim in terms of that. There was no cantors that they had trained. And I would listen to them, but also the other teachers were other musicians. I would see how they played. And who some of these other musicians were the Roma. So I was saying last night, the Roma. In Yiddish, we'd say the Zigeuner. And the same as in the German. The Roma, in English, commonly known as the Gypsies. And I was saying again last night, it's a word in English that we use, but it's a word that was given to them. It comes from the word Egypt. People thought they came from Egypt, Little Egypt actually, and no, they actually come from northwestern India, Rajasthan. And they speak a language close to Sanskrit. So they were my first teachers, along with Jews. And you say, why were they your first teachers, though? Well, because those Jewish musicians, first of all, many had perished in the Khurban, in the Shoah, in the Holocaust. Those who survived, some said, you know, life is difficult under the Soviets. Do I really want to stay here much longer? And I have a place called Israel now, after 1948. Maybe I'll go there, or I have family that's been living in the United States or Western Europe. Some stayed, but for the Roma, they were not going back home, India. They had been so long separated, and they didn't have that same connection to India as Jews had to Yerushalayim, other places in Israel. So they stayed, and they were the ones who still remembered often the Jewish music. And they would be the ones who would be called to play at the chasanas, or at the Jewish weddings, at simchas, for Jews and non-Jews. So they were, and so my first teacher was a gentleman named Nikolai Radu. Those who know the region of Bessarabia, we say, the Jews, we call it Bessarabia. Bessarabia is the province of Moldavia, which is in northeastern Romania, next to the country Moldova. So Moldavia is next to Moldova. And there's big cities like Yash and Chisinau, as what Jews would say, Chisinau, as Moldavans say, Yash, Botoșani, Suceava, Dorohoi, Radauts, Avramen, Stetlach. And so I go to this town, I go to Chisinau, and I went, and I was visiting with a Jewish family, and they were, I actually remember their names. This is just many decades ago. There was the Liederman family. They were refuseniks, real quick, Jews who wanted to leave the Soviet Union, but refused their visas, and they knew they were going to be refused for many years to come. But they welcomed me in their home. They were happy. The music, they loved music, Jewish music. They got to speak some Yiddish. They didn't have many opportunities. And she sat on the piano and was playing some beautiful classic Yiddish theater tunes. But I did not travel all that way to hear some of the common tunes that I could easily hear at home or on a record player or on a cassette. And she said, "Oh, Yitzchak, I know what you want." That's my Jewish name. She says, "You want the Richter Kazach, the real thing, the alte Sachen, the alte Nigunim." I said, "Yes." And so in comes this man who was 5'4" this high and 5'4" this way. And he had fingers. His one finger was like the width of my 3 fingers. And he gets to the piano. I say, first of all, how in the hell is this guy going to play the piano with such thick fingers? Whew, wow, could this guy play the piano? And he would do this. He would, okay, first of all, I said, "Yitzhak, give a kick, give a kick. Take a look, take a look." I'm looking what am I supposed to be looking at? "Give a kick, Yitzhak. Moldavish, Rumänisch, Magyar, Tziganisch, klezmer, Moldavish, Russisch, Ukrainisch," and every 8 bars, he's playing the same melody, but in each of the style. And he says, and when you joined the band, you know what the audition, you know that word audition? He said the audition is when the leader said Rumänisch, Ukrainisch, Polish, Litvish, and you had to play that same tune, but in that style. And if they didn't, okay, we'll see you later. So he knew, and so he was my first teacher, and a sweet man. If those who know a little bit about, there was a very famous Tsigan, Romani traveling ensemble named Zsok. They were very famous, if those who are old enough to understand Zsok, and they traveled the breadth of the former Soviet Union, even into the former East Bloc, Eastern Europe, playing klezmer, but a lot of Romani material. So he was very well. He played the accordion, the harmoshka, as we call the accordion. And so he was my first teacher. So let's see. So that's why I started off with the doina. The doina, which was influenced by Romanian folk music, but Jews gravitated to this. You hear how she was singing kind of a crying, a longing? So the doina originally was a pastoral, where you would sing to your animals, particularly your sheep. You would go up to the high with longing. You go up to the mountains, and you were going to be there for many months till you came back down to bring him, and with longing. And eventually, from the voice, it went to the flute. And eventually, the fiddler, the violinist, they heard it, and they did it. So let me just demonstrate.
Just put down.
Yeah. So,
Key,
let's see.
D minor,
D minor. No, G minor.
G minor.
Not. this music, the doina, when it originally came from the voice, it can't be played on the piano. Impossible. And if there's any pianists here to prove me wrong, I'll give you this violin. Why? Because the music is played on the gray notes of the piano. And if you have a Steinway with gray notes, boy, did you get ripped off. You want to have white notes and black notes. So what do I mean? It's all the cracks, because the violin has something that the baritone ukulele doesn't have. I have nothing. I have no frets. I have no frets. Elizabeth, she's the voice. She can do it better than me, but that's it. It's not C sharp, and it's not D major. Boy, my classical violinist teacher, she is really turning over in her grave. That's it. So it's the longing. And so Nikolai, he's on the piano, but he's singing it to me in his voice. He's playing. So let's see. Let's play something that's a little different style. So that longing piece, which is davening from a cantor, just the crying, or it can be the laughing too. But I always say, they say, what's the most common thing? I said, every Jewish piece has what? Has a little bit of this in it. That's what I was trying to say. Nikolai said, jetzt vergesst nicht. Was du Gemeinde spielen, da kommen ein bisschen Tränen. Has to have a little bit of tears. I said, I'll remember that. And this next piece, why? It's from Vilna. We're going to play this piece. Let me get it out. So you hear a little different style. So please, here's an interesting transference. Where the Jews played this, and the Roma learned it from the Jews. We learned a lot from the Roma, but they said, we like that melody. A good melody is a good melody. We don't care who sings it, plays it, as long as it touches, right? Naseretza, right? Deep in the heart, deep in the heart. So this is a walking melody. So this would be for the weddings. The biggest gig, the most important simcha, happy occasion, would be the wedding for music. Even the poorest, they would say, they had to, you're so poor you can't afford to pay the klezmer musicians. So then, and often the musicians knew that. So whether they say, as long as you pay me in what? In food and drink, okay, I'll be there. Because a chasana, even up to a few, up into the 1930s, the interwar period, but for sure into the 19th century. Ein Tag, one day, wow, that's not a chasana. A chasana was 7 days. 7 days, right? We have the blessings and so you had the wedding. A wedding would come Saturday night when? After the stars are out, the Shabbos is over, and you start. You have a chuppah, you're married, all right, and you party till whatever, 6 a.m. Then you march, and here's the song that the klezmer would play to take the chosin and the kala, the groom and the bride. Oh, that's right, he was probably saying, the groom and the bride, thank you, I'm sorry. Excuse me. We'll take the bride and groom, and so it's 6, 7 a.m., so they've been playing for about 9 hours. They did it, they got a few breaks. But now it's to walk them to the home. They'd walk their parents home, the mechatonim, the in-laws home, and they'd walk the bride and groom home. Party over? No. 8 o'clock the next night, again. Party over the next day? No. 8 o'clock again. 7 days. So, wow, I wish I could do a wedding for 7 days, get paid for 7 days. Woohoo! But anyhow, so here it is, the walking procession from Vilna. And you might say, how do you know this one? Because I learned it from an old musician, an old Roman musician who said, but I learned it from Yankel, the fiddler. Walk them home, and then they would get some rest. And then as they would start again. Language. So for musicians and singers, they know, and we have in our group some singers, the international language, well, the Jews were trying to make it Esperanto, Mr. Zamenhof, but it didn't go so well. And it's certainly not English. I will tell you that as an English speaker. And it's not even Yiddish. No, the international language is music, And people will say, well, how is that? I said, I have been in many places, many situations where I did not know one word of that person's language, but we had a conversation and got much deeper than you speaking to him in his language. And in fact, what really helped me doing this ethnographic research, and I think I've heard a little bit in the intro, my books, I don't know if the library has any of my books. They should. But you can go online. I've written many books on East European Jewish music, Jewish life. And when I was about to enter, or I was looking for a university to go, I had this material, and I was thinking of going for my master's. And eventually someone said, go down to New York University. When I say go down to, because I had been at Columbia University, so I went downtown to the Village, New York University. And I went into an office of a well-known ethnographer herself, world-famous, great, and I eventually ended up learning so much from her. But she was not rather impressed with me. I just went to San Diego State. I had a BA in American Studies, a bachelor's degree in furniture design. I used to build furniture. And then I was about to go, I was about to start law school at Bolt in Berkeley, and I dropped out and bought a one-way ticket to Eastern Europe. And my mother said when she heard I dropped out of law school, she walked this way, away from me in the living room. I can see it as clear as day. And as I say, not in such sotto voce, in a quiet tone, she said, he has 2 degrees. Something will happen with him. I don't know. Jewish mother. And my father said, I'd like to go with you. Anyhow, so she says, your Yiddish is not that good. How did you communicate? She was not very impressed. So I actually stood up and I said to her, and I say this to all, particularly the students, whether you're 1 or you're 101, don't wait for that professor or the one who is the so-called expert to say, you can do this now. No, do it on your own. Because if I had waited, I'd never done this research. I wouldn't even be standing in front of you. But I went to do it. And so I said that to her. I said, I didn't wait for you to say it was okay to do this research, that I had all these degrees. And she, can I hear something? I put on the cassette, and she heard music, she heard Yiddish. She says, wow, I hear the Yiddish, the song, I never heard that. And the music is playing. How did you get that? I said, Dr. So-and-so, I won't say the name, you know, your Yiddish is beautiful and you get it from home. And I'm learning Yiddish right now. I speak a little bit. I heard from my Baba, my dad, my Tata, but I have to learn. And I don't know how to read and write it, but I'm going to learn. But you know what language I speak that you don't speak? What? I speak violin. I speak music. And she said, I stand corrected. Yes, you do speak the language. And so that was the language that opened many doors. Many doors. In fact, when you're doing research and you're coming to a town, a village, a big city, and I would come, didn't have much geld, I didn't have a lot of pinyonza, money, kesef in my pocket. I was funding this on my own. So I would come into Jewish homes. I'd always try to stay with Jews. And I said, I can pay a few bucks. And they said, better than that. You're going to play every night. And then you can sleep here and you can eat here. I said, no problem. I'll be happy to play every night. So how the violin was a tool. So the violin was an ethnographic tool, very much so. And I still use it to this day. Maybe I could have done some things with other tools, and I'm sure to some extent, but not to the degree that the violin opened up many doors, particularly here I'm asking them for memories. And then I would go to people who, I'm not a musician, Yitzchak, I can't really sing. I said, it's okay, let me play something for you. I start to play, wait a minute, I remember. Ich gedenk's. Gedenk's, wenn ich bin als Jingle in mein Tata open gesingt das Niggen. I was so young and they would sing this Niggen. So that will bring us to, let's do, instead of the song from Bihar, let's do it. We'll go to the Vishnitzer. We'll go to the Vishnitzer. So we're going to do a melody that was known, again, among the Roma, among the Jews, from the town of Vizhnitz, which is, of course, today in southern Ukraine. And it's a song, a melody I learned, but it only had one verse. So I had the chutzpah to write 2 more verses, and Elizabeth will tell you what they mean.
The good thing about this song
is it requires you to sing with me.
Ah, yes, yes.
This is a song from Vizhnitz in Ukraine, and it is about Simchat Torah, we say in Ivrit, or Simchas Torah, that's what we say in Yiddish. Simchas Torah, around the world, every Jew is happy. The rabbi sits like a king on a throne. The Hasidim love him, singing and yelling and stretching their hands across the table to grab at the crumbs. Dance in the circle, every Jew is happy. The shamus sings David's psalms like with a beautiful voice. The Hasidim love him, drinking a toast, and dance like a drunkard, and laugh like a joker, and eat all the kreplach. Last verse, sing, 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 in the little room. Every Jew is joyous. The caretaker reads Ethics of Our Fathers like a wise man. The Hasidim love him, drinking a toast, rich as a butcher, poor as a pauper, grab at all the food. So it does have this refrain. I'll sing it for you, and we'll see if you can join me. Not too fast, ready?
Yeah, I'll follow you.
Tirai, 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 oi, oi, tirai, tirai,
Tirai, tirai, tirai, tirai, tirai, oi, oi, tirai, tirai, no! Tirai, 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 oi, oi, tirai, tirai,
not too fast. Tirai,
tirai, tirai, tirai, oi, oi, tirai, tirai, you.
Simchas Torah, ach, der Welt ist jeder Jid freilich. Der Rebbe setzt Säulen an der Säule wie am Melech. Die Chassidim lieben ihn, singen und schreien. Strecken die Hand in Tille rein, haben von alle die Schein. Here we go!
Tirai, 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 oi, oi, ti-rai, ti-rai, rai, ti-rai, 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 oi, oi, ti-rai, ti-rai.
So, this is a Hasidic song. It's a niggun. Most niggins, these wordless melodies, don't have words. These have some words. It's just a whole happy year, let's all be happy. So, we generally sing this on Rosh Hashanah. But sometimes we sing a ganz Woche Freilich on Havdalah, a whole happy week. But so let's just yes.
And I heard Roma singing this in perfect Yiddish. Why not? I speak a somewhat perfect English, and they sing it. So they would do. So, key A.
A minor.
Oh yeah, let's try that. You want to do the Bihar one? Because it's different. We'll do that one.
Sure.
So,
okay.
All right, so this next one, all right. So, the Roma and the Jews mingled throughout Eastern Europe, but there were certain areas, certain regions that there were more Roma. Oh, yes, okay. So the Roma, Jews mingled, particularly musicians. Oh, and I must say, though, I want to paint a picture. Did Jews have stereotypes that were negative about the Roma? Hell yes. Did Roma have some negative stereotypes about the Jews? Hell yes. Roma don't walk on water. Jews don't walk on water. I'm sorry, Yehoshua.
One did.
Well, maybe Yehoshua ben Miriam, yes. But meaning, yeah, they were just normal people. But this is the truth. Musicians, they got along. The musicians got. First of all, they had to get along if they're playing in each other's band. And there were some bands, capellas, that did very well. That's all they had to do, or all they could do. They could full time. Their pronounce was from music, but it's far and few between. If I'm telling you the truth, most had, as we'd say in the parlance, they had a day gig. They had day jobs. What were they? A Ketzel, a butcher, a Schneider, a tinsmith, various kinds of crafts. And what?
A Reifer?
A Reifer, yes. A Reifer, yes.
A bone setter.
A bone setter. That, you know, like a quack, so to speak. A felcher, we'd say, a felcher. But then in the evening time, they came together and they played the music. And it played it well. And that was also something interesting. The non-Jews, were there non-Jewish musicians that played with Jews? Absolutely. Non-Jewish musician, non-Roma, as they would say, the gage. Interesting that we have the word goy with a g, and they have a g word for the outsider. It's, you know, the same with the Japanese have a g word for the outsider, right? They would say one gage, two gajo, one goy, two goyim. So, but they said to me, this was honor. I said to him, my friend, he said, oh, ich bin a goy, ich bin a gajo. To him, he said, Kein Mo Yitzchak. This is my Roman friend. He said, Yidden and the Tzigana, he would say, were like this, always. And of course they saw, because they were the only other group that were singled out to be killed, right? And these are people I'm talking to, either they were survivors or they were children of survivors, family members of survivors, because they're the only other ethnic group singled out. Other groups were singled out, but ethnic Jews and the Roma for annihilation during World War II. But even before that, pogroms, do you think pogroms were only against Jews? No. There were pogroms against Tzigana. Why? They're different people, whatever. You look different, you smell different, you speak different. You know, you bother me. But when it came time to music, they wanted to hear your music. And so, anyhow, this song is from a region where a lot of Jews and Roma played. And this is Transylvania, northern Transylvania, the Carpathian, the Ruthenian, the mountains, Carpathian Mountains, where the Baal Shem Tov, where I was talking about today to folks, where Hasidus comes from. And some even say that the Baal Shem Tov even learned many of his melodies from Roma, as well as, of course, Ruthenians and Boyko and Wemko people, but also from the Tzigana, from the Roma. So we're going to play a song from Bihar, and Elizabeth is going to sing it in Romani.
Fortunately, there's very few lyrics. And it's interesting when you're talking about stereotypes, because the lyrics in Romani are, I don't steal, I don't tell fortunes, she's wearing a red dress, oh God. So that's the whole thing. What's interesting about this, I find interesting, is this was collected as field research by a student of Béla Bartók, great Hungarian
One of the last students, Béla Bartók, alive.
And what they would do is they would go out into the field, and Bartók would say, listen, annotate it exactly as you hear it.
So what year?
Yes.
What year? What year?
What year was it?
So I'll tell you, in about
1934.
What did it say?
1934.
1934, right.
So thank you for asking, making me work harder. So every syllable that I will sing is not only exactly as written, it's the syllables that were written down.
Right.
So we'll do 3 times vocals.
Okay,
vocals.
I'll just follow you.
Okay.
And I don't need to take a break. All right,
Not
I'll
too
do
fast,
a little bit.
okay?
Not too fast. So I was the one, I met one of the last students of Bartók. And I guess we were talking for many hours and I didn't know anything. He says, you know, I like you. I'm going to have my assistant give you a prize.
Mike.
Oh, Mike. And he said, I like you, Yale. This is the student of Bartók who became a well-known composer, a pianist, arranger. He says, after several hours, I like you, so my assistant's going to make you a copy of some of my field research. And so recently, we recorded this on our CD. Wow, compact disc. I know, it sounds like from 1980. So, but I brought a few, if some of you might have that machinery. Anyway, it's called Song of Bihar. Europa. I played a tune that was very popular in the region. Well, actually, I heard it even in southern Belarus when I was doing some research there, because on my father's side, the Yichus was from Stolin. As we say, you know, Leben Pinsk nicht weit von Minsk, next to Pinsk and far from Minsk. Not far from Minsk. So this piece is called a kolomeka. It's a dance piece. Often you would say, so what were the titles? I gave a lot of these titles, to be honest. They called it, you know, Tanz, Yitzhak, which one? I don't know. Sven Swansik, dance number 22. Okay. And of course, can you imagine? So I said, how many dances did you know? Oh, we know about 600. Oh my God, dance number 578? What? I wouldn't know, remember what tune that was. 578? What tune is dance 578? Anyhow, this one I just called the kolomeka from Kolomia. It was a very popular tune. The Roma danced it. The Ukrainians had certain steps to it. People put different steps, as I said, different flavors. So I will do it both in the Roma style and in the klezmer style. I'll start off slow. This would be the kind of the Roma feeling, and then I'll get into the dance part that was influenced by the Ukrainian folk. And the Jews said, we like this. We'll use it too, the kolomeka. And it will be our last tune. So I want to say thank you very much to Shanim Gracedan Achu. Wow, excuse you. Gesundheit, no. And thank you. And if there might be one or two questions, if I can answer them, I certainly will. And if I don't own the answer, I'll say, good, let's both look it up. And then we'll both learn something new. Coffee itself, you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. Might there be a quick question or a long question? Yes, sir.
I find it so interesting to hear.
Yes.
I find it so interesting to hear about the Roma Jewish cooperation and camaraderie. Since World War II, Jews have received some help, such as a country. Roma, still short end of the stick, most despised, discriminated people in Europe. Do you know of anything going on today between Roma and Jews, musically or otherwise?
There are, you know that, I'll get this. There are some connections and some help. In Budapest, they're doing some work. In the United States, I have some friends who've done research. A good friend of mine, Bob Cohen, you can look it up, Bob Cohen, who's, he decided his mother was from a survivor from Hungary, and he has been living in Budapest for about since 1993, 92, speaks a beautiful Magyar and Romani. He goes back and forth, so he's been doing some, but there needs to be more, definitely needs to be more. And yes, very discriminated against, but there are some efforts in certain countries to help them more than others, and but not enough. Just a quick side note, so my daughter spent 5-6 months volunteering, working in Israel, and she did all kinds of work, but she decided to go because she's our daughter, and we schlepped her when she was 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12 before middle school. It gets a little hard to miss school when you're in middle school, but we'd take her all over the world, and she had been in villages with Roma and Jews, non-Jews, and she decided to work with the Roma, the Domari, those who probably don't even know. In East Jerusalem, there's the Domari Center. I'm saying that D-O-M-A-R-I, so look that up, and they could use your help. And they are related to the Roma, so she worked with the Roma there. But very nice question. They are Roma, exactly, they are Roma. The Dome, yes.
The very wonderful editor and the historian Dalia Epstein and translator Dalia Epstein ask you the question. It's out of the of the topic, but what is the origin of Hatikva?
The origin of Hatikva. Well, most likely, from my research, but it's not one of my where the origin of Hatikva. It's a I want to say a Bohemian folk melody. It's a Bohemian folk melody that goes several hundred years back. But a young boy, and I'm going to forget his name now. Was it Ingberg? No, the words are, was it David Ingberg? Who wrote the word? Yeah, I think it's David Ingberg. He remembers his folk melody from the youth, and he put the words. So that's why when you listen to the beautiful piece by Smetana, and you say, oh, he copied the Jews. He's singing Hatikva. No, it's the other way around, that melody. So that's, my belief is, I want to say Bohemian. I could be wrong, sir. Could be Moravian, but it's either or. But I really believe it's a Bohemian folk melody that eventually was arranged and it became the national anthem, of course, what is today Israel. All right, thank you for that question. One more before we say adieu, and we all do our wonderful things. Any more? Okay, so again, we thank you so much. And those interested in anything that we've done together, you can find it online. Our band is called Hot Pstromi, and Yale Strom and Hot Pstromi, and a good name for vegans, right? I haven't had a good pastrami sandwich in a few decades. But if I'm gonna break my vegan diet, I'm gonna have a pastrami sandwich, a good one. But it's not. I won't find it in San Diego though. I'll have to go to New York City. Anyhow, CDs back there, our books. Oh, and I will give a plug to my beautiful wife. She wrote a very fantastic book of short stories, just won an award, an audio drama award, major award, and for whatever it was, but for the stories and for the production. And she says, she will tell you, you describe it. In your beautiful way, you describe it.
These are stories that are based on Central and Eastern European Jewish life from a woman's perspective. I call it the genre feminist shtetl horror, which is redundant if you know the subject.
Right. So, and it's called a sweet?
It's called The Sweet Fragrance of Life.
A Sweet Fragrance of Life. Again, thank you so much. Sei gesehen. Start. Thank you.
Thank you.